Hello and welcome to my channel. So for today's video we will be painting Frieren. I actually just recently got into this anime, so I didn't watch it right as it was coming out. But the more and more I watched it, I'm really enjoying it. I think I'm on episode 22 by now. By the way, apologies for the kind of turbulent, weird focus. I think it's also because the footage is sped up. It kind of got all crazy, so if there's any parts that are still there as I try to edit it out as much as that craziness as possible, there's also like a timestamp going just to the coloring part since for some reason it was not happening. Does anybody else seriously struggle with their camera focus and kind of figuring that out? I did actually go through an entire tutorial how to use my camera because it's like the first time I got one that's not just a simple point and shoot camera, and I have to be honest, I think I've forgotten nearly everything that went through that video, so I might have to go through it all over again. It's just I haven't had the time. There's been like a bunch of stuff, so unfortunately I just click record and hope for the best, and so far this time it's been a little bit really rough and working against me. But yeah, now I have moved on to inking Frieren herself. I think I did an okay job. I think the only thing that bugged me for the entire time was the way I had inked her mouth. I had drawn it properly in the digital sketch itself, and even transferring, I think, on line art was okay for the pencil underneath. But overall, when I went over and compared with the digital one, I did end up fixing it up, but still, I think I might have tweaked it so many times that I'm just, I'm still overall happy with the pieces. Just you know, those little things that always like bug you when you're just staring at your piece. That it's just frustrating. But yeah, I suppose if I went and obsessed too much about trying to make things perfect, I'd never get it done. So for this pose, overall, I think I took a little bit of creative freedom with her suitcase. I definitely made it a lot smaller than I think in the show, but hey, yeah, she found a magic spell to shrink the suitcase, so it's easier to carry, guys, okay? That's what happened. It totally is canon, and it works. So, as per usual, in order to have a nice smooth background behind the character, I use masking fluid. Now, originally, I just wanted to do it around the edges of the character and thought I was maybe gonna just stick a piece of paper or something on top to cover the rest so I don't waste too much masking fluid. I had even managed to spill some masking fluid before, and that really sucked because it wasn't so much the being wasteful because it wasn't too much loss, but the fact that masking fluid smells kind of almost fishy to me. I can't even point out what exactly the smell is. It's not what I expect it to be, like more of a weird plasticky smell or something. But yeah, it's almost fishy-like to me. So originally I was going to cover the character with paper, but I decided not to go with that just because when I tried to stick it down, things went horribly wrong, and I decided I would YOLO and just be more careful. And I think I maybe go back and mask the whole character. I actually can't remember, probably not. But yeah, here I'm just masking out the clouds, which I forgot to originally do, and I go into working on the background. So I really liked a lot of Frieren pieces being kind of simple with their skies and background, just some clouds and sort of fields or something, not too complicated. And that's kind of what I went for because anyway, I am totally not lazy to make a detailed background or anything like that. Originally, I think my sketch included maybe putting Castle, the town she's from, which I totally forget, or not technically from, but she kind of hangs around, lives near or something. But I got a bit lazy and I wasn't really feeling the composition or something. I just wanted to stick with like the focus being her and the blue moon weeds. I probably mentioned them earlier, but I'm not recording in the same day. Haha. So I did a simple wash of that with like some greens and blues. I was a bit nervous about the flowers, how I was actually going to paint them and if they were going to look okay. Just because sometimes when I do a different color ink, I'm a lot of times not satisfied with the way it looks compared to when I'm watching others do it. But I think I actually managed to succeed. And I think what actually pushed it to look much better was the fact that I actually layered and brought out the colors and not leaving it washed out like this. Because originally I think I was going to do that and leaving a little white in between also the flowers, which was looking a bit weird near the end, and I did end up filling in a lot more. And see, I'm like dabbing away the colors because I'm afraid of contrast, so you know, dab, scared from the colors. I mean, I guess it's good that you can really layer up watercolor. So here I'm just peeling away at the masking fluid itself, which I honestly have to say is not quite that fun, and I'm always really nervous just doing it on the hot press paper because I always feel like it's about to rip the paper. Like, I find hot press papers really nice to work when you want to do like smaller stuff, like faces this size essentially for myself. And just because like you can get in there and get more details than like a rugged textured cold press paper, but I always feel like it's way more fragile, so I'm always more nervous to layer it up. But Arches is pretty good quality and it pretty much handles a lot that I'm like throwing at it. Of course it's like cotton paper, so I mean, and considering how much you freaking pay for this paper, it better hold up, right? So there isn't too much to say about her outfit because it's mostly white with different colored details, like the gold details and then the stripy shirt underneath. I don't know if I got all the amount of stripes she has correctly or something in this one. I might have like either added or redacted one. I guess shadows when I add them in later on is like the thing that most defines this. The hair color, I think I struggled a little bit painting on this paper just because it's technically an off-white paper, so getting that color exactly how I wanted it to be just wasn't entirely turning out. It's also, I suppose, because there's a point where like the gradient wash of the sky is like maybe a bit too light still at a certain point, right where her hair is, and I suppose I could have made that a little bit darker to help with it, but I think it still stands out in the end. It's just, you know, you have to nitpick at your own work, especially when I'm watching it back like this in the footage. Then I could nitpick forever about every little detail. But yeah, going back to her hair color, it's such a weird mix every time I'm trying to achieve it. I think it's wisteria or the lavender color. I forget which is which right now. I think it might be the lavender's the bluish purple. Yeah, the paint in the very right corner that you see there in that previous footage. The lavender is kind of what I do with a mix of slightly some pale blue and even a bit of buff titanium just to kind of like neutralize it. I kind of added that in quite a bit just because the paper itself is technically actually off-white, which kind of sometimes throws off your game when there's like delicate, very, very pale pastel colors in the works. Also, it's been an incredibly hot several days here while I'm trying to put this video together, so apologies if the editing on this one is quite jank. I just didn't have it in me, mostly because my stomach got very upset and a whole lot of issues. I think it's all just basically the heat that's causing it for the most part. So stay hydrated and stay cool as best as you can, everybody, if you are in a place where it's also boiling hot. Thankfully, while actually painting this, it was pretty decent weather, so I didn't struggle there, but yeah. And now I'm finally going in, adding the actual shadows. So now I finally get into adding the shadows. I was a little bit light when it comes to the stockings because I think it dries a lot lighter. I think you can still pretty much see it in the footage here, but when I was looking at it, I don't know if it was because it was a more cloudy day or whatever, it felt like you could barely see the shadows, so I definitely go back later on to fill those in, but I think it definitely brought out the piece quite a bit, adding those in. So now I'm finally getting into actually coloring the flowers a proper blue, saying there was only just a bit of a wash on them. I was a little bit concerned because I was really trying to keep any of the green wash away from the actual flowers, so it just layered on nicely. As you know, layering different colors with watercolor, because it's transparent, it doesn't turn out like the pure color that you kind of want. And I was just going for one like simple blue, I think, that I had in my palette, which unfortunately because I kept mixing it with a yellow or something to create a green, it was also still a bit greenified. So I think that was like my only gripe, where I wish they were a little bit on a purpley blue rather than like a greeny blue. Also, I was sort of thinking about how this thing of creating like a field of flowers is a lot easier digitally to do, because you can kind of just create like a flower brush and stamp away. But it's also kind of satisfying actually completing it traditionally and putting in the effort and making all of those flowers. I was a little bit concerned because I felt like maybe I had gotten so lazy and, you know, used to the digital tools making this kind of repetitive thing too easy that I would hate it so much that I wouldn't bother. But I actually very much enjoyed it. So let me know, do you struggle with doing this kind of thing traditionally and you only do it digitally and never would consider doing like a repetitive kind of pattern or thing traditionally? So now finally just doing the green part of the flowers themselves. Not much to say there other than just making sure the contrast isn't so extremely weird between the flowers and the grass itself, because that part should be darker anyway. And then I work away at the final touches. I actually didn't record everything though in terms of the final touches, like adding the like last little white in her eye, I think. I tweaked the lips or like the mouth here a touch, but I think it went unrecorded what I did to finally like fix it up to my liking, because here it was like it was looking a bit weird. I think I already mentioned that at the beginning, where I wasn't quite too happy with the mouth for the longest time until like the last second when I finally fixed that part up. So I'm glad I didn't ruin it though, because it was rough, as it's just like a very light wash and it was kind of hard to even like mask or cover up certain details or certain mistakes, I mean. So yeah. And finally complete. Now peeling out the tape. Just kidding, there was one last little detail I wanted to touch up. But yeah, if you've gotten this far, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you tune in next time.